Let's also think about how much money does it cost to not anticipate needs? How much money does incontinency and falls cost? I've never done it. If you could tell me, I'd love to know. There's staff time, team member time. There's the cleaning up. There's getting stuff to the laundry, you know, doing the laundry, changing someone's clothes, changing linens, the housekeeping involved if something happened on the floor, all the paperwork that the nurse has to do, let alone injury potentially to the person. I mean, of course, that's the most important, but I have colleagues who say, you know, couldn't we just have taken someone to the bathroom instead of wasting all that time? Is that a good use of our time? No. And does it cost a lot of money? Yes. And what would you rather do with all that money? Something else I've learned from another team, I've just done so much on the subject that when I get to work with different teams, I learn from them as well, of course. One team decided, you know what we're going to do? We're going to proactively set up times and assign staff members to help people to the bathroom. So for instance, we know before and after meals is a pretty popular time, right? And so what if the director of nursing was assigned to help, you know, one resident before lunch, and the assistant director of nursing was assigned to help one person or the same person after lunch. And then perhaps we could do it also in the evening, around supper time if possible, breakfast, lunch, supper, you know, I love it. Talk about proactive. And I just have fun calling that proactive active. That's a very unique idea of getting other team members assigned. They know they got to do this, and it'll be tremendous help to your CNA team. All right. So I just want to encourage you, whoever you are, to help this get onto each resident's care plan. And I personally would suggest this idea of let it stand alone. Don't let it get smushed somewhere else. Like maybe call it anticipating bathroom needs. Why not? Again, remember power in language. So we're going to anticipate. Okay? So what does that look like? I'll show you actually a care plan coming up. So try to get this on the care plan. We got to anticipate. We got to learn patterns. You know, I anticipate she'll need the bathroom before and after the meals or whatever else. And cues. And I have a story coming up. Here it is. So what's the focus? Anticipate my bathroom needs, please. You don't have to say it like that, but that's just to make a point. You know, to word things differently might really get people's attention in a different way. Notice I say my goal to use the bathroom when I need to be continent, and to retain my dignity. It is dignified to go get to sit, now I'll say the word, on the toilet rather than be incontinent. And the individual approaches for me, here it comes. When I cry, it's a cue that I need to use the bathroom. Words fail me due to my dementia. I shouldn't say mine, due to dementia. And all team members ask if I need the bathroom, not just nursing. So that's a big win in our quest to be proactive. Anyone can ask a resident if they need to use the bathroom. It is not HIPAA protected. How do you like that? And I actually met this woman once. It was in an assisted living, in the wheelchair. She was crying in the hall. So I crouched down and started to ask, you know, if something's the matter. And a very wise CNA, I believe, you know, who worked there, whispered very respectfully in my ear, Carmen, that usually means she needs the bathroom. So all I had to say was, Mildred, do you need to use the bathroom? And she's, oh, yes, thank you. So isn't that so interesting? And it's such a good example of knowing people well, knowing their cues. I've heard similar stories. Oh, when Fred pointing, his pointing means he needs the bathroom. Oh, so good, everybody. Make sure everybody knows. And so this idea of proactively checking in with residents is intended to be for all team members, not just nursing. I have fun saying falls do not belong to nursing, everybody. I don't know why we act that way. If there's a meeting about falls, guess who's in charge of it? Nursing. If there's a grant project and there's a call on falls, guess who's on the call? Nursing. And I keep trying to spread it out, everyone. So go ahead and say it. Falls do not belong to nursing. Now, who do they belong to? In a way, they belong to nobody, and in a way, they belong to everybody, right? Maybe find your words to help point that out. Falls belong to all of us if you want to, or more importantly, we all can prevent falls by doing some of these great things. Here's some other tips, benefits actually, of getting people to the bathroom. Anticipation, being ahead of it, not behind it. You will have fewer call lights, right? People won't have to call if you help them to the bathroom already. Isn't that great? And not taking someone to the bathroom, the incontinency, let's just look at that for a moment. That doubles the time of taking someone to the bathroom. Look at it the opposite way. Getting someone to the bathroom is half the time. Wow, you can save time by making sure people get to the bathroom. I've just learned from smart people, everyone, what a great point. A nursemaid, it's actually hard to have, it's hard, it's difficult to have a BM in bed or in your wheelchair. Ugh, it's not normal. It's actually devastating and embarrassing. And of course, your body reacts more naturally sitting on that toilet, and let alone is it much more dignified. Can you imagine just being incontinence right now in your pants? I do say that on purpose, everyone, because we need to just try to get our heads there, and that's what we can prevent. Also similar, but taking someone to the bathroom then is easier. Here's a Edu saying, I think the younger generation needs reminded it's better for everyone to get to sit on the toilet. It's more dignified. So there it is again. Helping residents get up and use the bathroom also increases mobility. I mentioned that's a whole other practice to help people get stronger, move more. When you're stronger, you tend to fall not as much, and if you fall, you tend to not have injury. And then something else, needing to use the bathroom wakes us up. So all the more reason for us to be alert and anticipate the bathroom needs. Otherwise people wake up in the middle of the night. Maybe we do help them, but now they're awake, and sometimes that translates into a fall, particularly, depending on the cognition. And then I love this friend who's very honest. You know what? We used to take residents to the bathroom to avoid having to change them. So I don't care what your motivation is. That's why I bring it all up. Very good. And I want to also interject here, when we move away from these old practices to the new practices, language, again, has power. So when you're talking about people falling, sometimes these labels come up. The label of frequent faller, have you heard that? And I've heard even speakers on falls say out loud, I call them frequent fallers. And then another time someone said, oh my goodness, she's falling so much, I call her the repeat offender. Just be aware, language has power. And those are labels, and I doubt people love being labeled with those words. And so what might you say? Remember, just say what you would say at home. Fred is falling a lot. Sally fell 3 times this month. Whatever it is, be precise. Say what's really happening and try to avoid labels. And then again, as a reminder, instead of rounding, we're trying to talk about checking in with, proactively checking in with residents or check-ins. Did you know the word ambulate does not mean walk? We think it does. She can ambulate. But if you look it up, you can test this out. It actually means to move. And so it ends up becoming a weird word that might not be clear at all times to all people. And so it's just another example of using words that are precise and that makes sense and everybody knows what you're talking about. Because if she doesn't walk, you could say she ambulates in her wheelchair, but now most people won't know what that means, so just call it what it is. She can propel her wheelchair, she can move her upper body but not her lower, and he can walk. Some other words that kind of come up in this conversation. Hopefully you don't hear the word diaper anymore. I hope we've gotten rid of that. And this one's a little bit interesting, everyone. There may not be one best word. And even though I know most people probably use brief nowadays, and it's fine, it is also, though, an example of, is that the right word? And so I'll use myself as an example. I kind of see myself as an older woman with dementia, and maybe if someone brings up, oh, we got to get your brief on, my head goes to my husband's underwear drawer. And I think, why do I have to wear that now? So I don't know, the more I talk to people, sometimes it just kind of comes out that when you're working with someone, you might need to use whatever their word is. Maybe they use the word brief, that's fine. Maybe they use the word panty, I've heard that, or the word underwear might just be quite appropriate. Um, when you're talking to fellow staff, maybe brief is the briefest. No pun intended. So, something to think about there. Of course, we're trying to move away from toileting and can she toilet herself like a verb? Isn't that funny? Trying to just use words that you and I might use in our normal life. Can she use the bathroom? She needs help to use the bathroom, etc. Did you know that the power of language has actually shown up in regulation? Isn't that interesting? So tag 550 is a resident rights tag, and it talks about being treated with respect and dignity. And it actually has this as an example: to avoid the use of labels for residents such as feeders or walkers. So they only use 2 examples, but notice what they're getting at here. Do you hear the word feeder in your community? I hope not. I hope it's old and people don't use it anymore. Just ponder that for a moment. What is a feeder? Wow. Feeder, feeder. Have you ever heard that word outside the nursing home? You know where I've heard it? On the radio, when you're in the farm country, and they tell you that the feeders sold today for this much money. Those are fattened pigs and fattened calves for market, everyone. Whoa. Where did we get the idea to call precious people that? And watch this. If feeding is taking place, watch, who really is the feeder? Isn't that funny? Probably the person feeding the other person. And so I feel like, wow, it may not be even grammatically correct, let alone it's very undignified. Why don't we just stop using it? So I invite you today to never say the word again if you still find yourself using it. And then notice the word walkers. You may or may not have heard that, but it's a good example, I think, of how we tend to turn anything into a label. My goodness, I've heard it all. She's a walker. We call them the walkie-talkies. She's a wetter. Oh, she's total care. He's total lift. Oh, she's a complainer. You know, she's a hoarder. She's a wanderer. These are labels, and you don't have to use them ever. Just try to explain what's happening. Notice the negativity that comes with a label. It's so sad to me. That is very institutional, very disrespectful. You don't have to do it. You know, we want to know what people think. We're supposed to have a proactive, QAPI culture to do quality assurance and performance improvement all the time. Do you want your residents to tell you what's going wrong, or the ombudsman or the surveyor or the lawyer? You want to know, and you don't want to call them complainers, right? People who hoard, there's reasons for that. And what's more important is to try to get at those reasons. Is it because of the depression, or is it because of something else? A lot of times it's because I'm in charge of nothing, and I have nothing to do and no one to love, and so I got to do something. I gather things, and I'm in charge of these things at least. Leave my things alone. The more choice you give, the more life you give, the less people need to do things like that. In fact, this is called person-first language, when you stop labeling and you put the person first. We're all people first, right? Check this out. I love this. So, what do you prefer to be called? Handicapped, disabled, or physically challenged? Joe would be fine. And then, this is so good. The most appropriate label is usually the one people's parents have given them. Isn't that great? And now, I'd like you to think about this for a minute. How many of you wear glasses? A lot of us do, right? But do you say I'm myopic? I've never heard it. And yet, those little letters I see, they are labeling. They are a label usually. Watch out for them. And so instead of a paraplegic, see, here's what we would do. This is a person. This is so-and-so. This is Mr. Smith, who has paraplegia. So he's not paraplegic, not diabetic, I'm switching a little bit, not the dementia residents, the dementia patients. We don't even use patient anymore. These are people who live in this home. Isn't that beautiful? So I'd love for you to join us in switching language, shifting language. Language costs no money. You can choose to use different words today. And I would invite you to be a teacher now too. Become an advocate for changed language, because language creates culture. So notice the power of these words when you refer to community and home instead of facility over and over.